The Marching Roundtable is proud to be an official media partner of Drum Corps International.
Thanks for coming to the Marching Roundtable YouTube channel, sharing great information to help you succeed in all the marching arts. While you're here, we hope you'll subscribe.
The Marching Roundtable is proud to be an official media partner of Drum Corps International and Music for All.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Hinton, the Beast of the Marching Arts and the host of the Marching Roundtable podcast. I recently made myself available to answer questions from listeners and had a lovely phone call with a parent of a student who was auditioning for Drum Corps. This parent wanted to know how they could best support their child through this process, and I decided to share our conversation here, as I hope it will have helpful information for many other parents in a similar situation. I'd like to remind everyone of our free resource, Paying for Drum Corps, a 1-hour presentation you can find at payingfordrumcorps.com. Thanks to the sponsor of this podcast, Fred J. Miller Incorporated, found at fjminc.com. Auditioning for Drum Corps Parent Support on the Marching Roundtable.
All right. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you now. If you would start again.
All right. Thank you. Yes. So I have a question or just a little background. I'm a parent. I have 2 children that are in a band. One is currently auditioning for DCI.
Terrific.
And yes, auditioned for gold last weekend and has Mandarins coming up
Awesome.
this weekend. Yes. So I actually have 2 questions for you, both unrelated. The first one is just maybe a simple, like I said, I did watch your other video, but is there anything that you could recommend for a parent to support their child as they go through this process?
That is such a lovely question. and first off, I just want to commend you because you're there and you're involved and you're wanting to be supportive and you're wanting to do whatever you can for your children. And you know what, Terry, it is Terry, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
When I was in school, my parents always were supporting me and showing up at concerts with the band and everything. And I never thought anything of it. And then when I became a band director years later, when I got out of college, and I realized this is not typical, right? Like a lot of students' parents would not show up for meetings or concerts or performances. And I went back sort of retroactively and realized how great my parents had been, like how involved and interested and supportive, and they paid for lessons and taken me to trips to audition and stuff. And I just never really realized that wasn't what everybody's parents were doing. So I just want to start by saying thank you for supporting your students in that way and even being here to talk with me right now and ask these questions because good for you and how lucky for your students and your kids, that you are doing that for them. So I feel like it's interesting because when you get to the moment where a student is taking this kind of step into the world of Drum Corps, to me, it feels like a real step into being an adult and taking my own initiative and sort of doing my thing without my parent having to be there to hold my hand and all of that, right? You know what I mean? It's sort of like heading off to college almost.
Yes, correct.
And I feel like, so it's an interesting position for a parent like yourself to be in because you want to be there and do everything you can to support them. But I think it's also a time to sort of support from the sidelines and sort of stay out of the way.
Yeah.
So I think what you can definitely do is make sure that they have what they need. Ask them, what do you need? Are they taking lessons? Do you need special lessons to get ready for the materials in the packet? Do you need, help making sure you can get there if that's not already planned? Are there others that are going with you that we can work together, like just sort of logistical transportation-y support, maybe monetary even?
Mm-hmm.
And other than just encouraging, like you probably already do, like, hey, have you practiced today? Or do you feel like you're ready or whatever? I don't know the relationship you have with your son or daughter, but, I guess it could get down to supporting them if they get cold feet and they're nervous and that kind of thing. But I think when they sort of take a grown-up step, how old is the student who's auditioning?
18.
Okay,
18,
so
yes.
they're right there. It's exactly the way and you know why I'm saying this, Terry, is because I'm thinking back to my history eons ago when I did this, right? I was a college student at the time when I auditioned for the Phantom Regiment and took that step and got myself into the Corps. And the support I needed from my family was really kind of monetary at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, looking back, I think, probably I could have figured it out. But that's what I needed at the time years ago. So I think, I don't know, does that answer your question in any way?
It does answer my question, and this almost feels like a therapy session, which is what I need as a parent who, and I was a booster president for 3 years, and so I've been very, very involved, and so I have to be able to learn how to not only encourage, but I almost need to be told or encouraged, like what to do and what not to do. Because, they have to stumble. I'm encouraging. It's like, well, okay, you're taking lessons. Like, what else should a parent be doing? But then you have to let them find their way.
That's so, I so appreciate, like, it's a process to learn how not to help too, right? And this is like how to learn. And I feel like I don't have children that have gone off to college, but I certainly think my impression as an educator who's worked with students my whole life, like that's part of it, is like watching them start to have to take the initiative. And I feel like auditioning for Drum Corps is one of those moments where you can support them as much as you can, encourage them, like you said, make sure they have the packet, see if they need any help monetarily, make sure they can get there, whatever. But ultimately, they're going to go do it. And you may have to console them when they come home and they haven't gotten what they wanted, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, Drum Corps is a process. These days, it seems, most people don't start where they want to. Mm-hmm. And so that might be something that you're also prepared if you've listened to the podcast you mentioned already about auditioning for Drum Corps, then you already know some of these facts. But a lot of times students aren't ready for the big time, shall we say, those top 6, 7 corps. But listen, you can have a fantastic experience in a corps like Gold. I mean, what a wonderful Drum Corps that is. Yeah. And then not only have a great time there and get a lot of good training and have a wonderful summer, but get experience so that you're ready if you don't make it the first time into, as you said, Mandarins or whatever other top corps you might want. But knowing perhaps, being able to say, well, I have some statistics here, or, I listened to this podcast and they said that it's not unusual for people to need to audition multiple times. Yeah. That would be, knowing that, I think is helpful if the moment comes and he or she doesn't get where they want to.
Right. Okay. That's a great point, because sometimes numbers, not feelings, but, data, numbers, that they don't lie. So to be able to say, hey, listen, you're going for a snare spot, there's 900 kids and there's 2 openings, manage your feelings, which.
So does your student know, have they seen Gold perform? Are they excited about potentially ending up there?
Yes, very excited. These are the 2 Golden Mandarin, or the 2, even Pacific Crest, although that's here in Southern California as well. But auditioned last year, didn't get a call back, auditioned, this past weekend, we'll call back and go in January. So, and he knows some other kids at, Color Guard as well as, in brass, who auditioned before and have made it. And so he has people that he can talk to and give him an indication of what type of organization it is. So,
I don't think you have any, as a parent, you should not worry about how well your student will be taken care of in any of these organizations. They're very closely monitored and they have a lot of procedures in place, and your student's going to have a great experience in any of these.
Yes.
any of the drum corps that they might perform with. But I think if your son is a snare drummer, then that is a very sort of elite spot.
Yeah.
And you know what? He might end up on cymbals. And I mean, who knows? You know, if
Right.
he would even be willing to do that. I don't know at all. Like, who knows? But I
Yeah.
feel like your question really to move back was, what should I be doing? I think what you're doing is what you're doing, which is you're getting information, you're being supportive. And really, I think that you're going to have to get used to sort of letting go a little bit and
Right.
letting it happen, which I understand completely can be really hard. My context for that, I guess, would be that I do a lot of creations of shows. I design a lot of shows and write a lot of music and drill and stuff. And I create this, like, I call it my little baby. You know, I've created this
Right.
thing that I love, and then I send it off, and then they're going to do with it whatever. And sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I've had to really learn to sort of say, okay, well, I did my best, and off you go. That's totally a
Right.
terrible analogy for your situation, but
It's a great analogy because it is the same thing. It's something that you've created and you've done your best with them. You've encouraged enough. All you could do is just, they will learn from whatever happens. But no, that's a great analogy.
well, and, you
Great
know, when
analogy.
a student gets to be 18, like, you sort of, your work is kind of done, you know. It's not like you're not going to still be there for them the rest of their life, you know, to be supportive or whatever. But this is that moment where, you know, they're sort of coming into their own. And if you've done your job, awesome. And if not, then keep working on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would also say that, you know, you clearly have been a great role model. I mean, if you've been that involved, you've worked really hard, you've had these supportive positions, then you've shown your
Son.
son, whatever. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You've shown both your kids, you know, like, this, I'm working hard for you. I'm here for you. And this is how you get things done, you know? And so, like, they have that role model. So you should feel good about providing that. And I can tell you again, as someone who was in the educational system, it's really disheartening how many students don't have that model.
Yeah.
So you should feel good about that. And then I would say just perhaps make sure your son knows, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. I want you to ask me, you know, and if I can find something out for you, if you can't find it out, let me know, whatever. I think it's really lovely that you signed on to ask this question. I think it's great. And I think I could completely imagine how a challenge it might be for you to sort of let go and let God, as they say. You know?
And that's right. To go from the, through middle school, high school, you're very, very hands-on. You're like making sure that they have their things and you're organizing things to make it happen. Of course, yes, you're working with parents who just drop off and drive away and you're like, what? And so being, very involved. And then they're in college and, there's a bunch of us parents that are saying, we don't have to push pit. We don't have to hand out. We just sit here and watch. And so just going through this process is kind of a learning curve for parents like me. But yet I don't want to be, I just want to make sure that, like I said, this is a therapy session and I appreciate you so much.
I'm happy to. This is what I'm here for. Like, this is literally why I set this up tonight. If anybody has any questions and I can share any sort of advice, then that's awesome. I do think this might be, is your son going off to college next year?
He's in a junior college now, so he's marching with Pasadena City College, and so it's snare line there, doing well. And this is just that, as I've explained to my mother and everyone else, it's like, what is this DCI thing? It's like it's the NFL of of marching band. So they're like, oh, I see.
Well, I can tell you that it's everybody that has ever marched drum corps, including myself, will attest that it was life-changing, and it was. And I made friends that I have had my whole life, and it prepared me to be good at all the things I've tried to do in ways that I never could have possibly anticipated. So
wow.
I would definitely tell you to encourage him. There's not going to be any downside to his experience in drum corps wherever he is at whatever year. And I think perhaps the most important thing that we've said is that it's quite possible he will not end up in his dream corps the first year.
Right.
That is not unusual. In fact, I mean, if you look at the top six or whatever, like they're made up of 21-year-olds and 20-year-olds, right? I mean, and you just don't walk up to the Blue Devils as an 18 or 16-year-old. It just doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Because there's the demand and the desire is so high. So, I think your son's going to be just fine, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And another thing that I took away that you just said is probably in terms of encouragement to be open to front ensemble, cymbal line, or,
Right.
maybe it's not your first instrument, but just get your foot in the door, I guess.
Right, because the snare line is the elite sort of spot, and there's only, like you said, there's only so many, and I have no idea what kind of experience and talent level your son's showing up with, but I feel like having the experience of a summer of drum corps, it's sort of like going away from home, growing up, being responsible, having this exciting experience where you make all these friends, you have all these performances. It is transformative, whether he's playing a bass drum in the front ensemble or, out there in the middle of the snare line. Who knows? I would encourage him to have the experience.
Yes.
And then continue to practice. And, he can soak up everything that he can in all the ways, so that he ends up more where he might want to be in the future. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would just stay out of the way. Just say, hey, if you need anything, if you need to talk about this, if you need some encouragement, whatever, here I am.
Yeah.
And then hey, make sure you practice. I'm imagining he's pretty responsible around all that already.
Yes, he practice. He's doing well. We have to stop him. It's like, hey, it's getting late. That's our neighbors have been all these years have been lovely. But let's not.
When my first year of drum corps, what year was it? One of my years, I sat next to the center snare. I was a March Phantom Regiment, and I came into the corps late, so I won't try to explain it. But anyway, I ended up sitting next to the center snare, who ended up winning individuals, which is like the solo and ensemble championship.
Wow.
Anyway, but the entire summer, he never stopped drumming. If we were riding down the road, he had this little tiny square drum practice pad that he sat on his leg, and he drummed and he drummed and he drummed. And that's all I remember is that this guy never stopped. I don't know how his hands could do it, quite honestly, thinking back. But, and then, of course, it paid off because he ended up winning this individual championship, which was very cool. But it's hard to, so I don't know I'm sure you guys have the silent practice pads, or do you just try to get him to stop, which might be the best advice?
If he's in the car and he's drumming on his pads, or we usually don't stop him, unless it's he has something in his room where he's there's I don't know what that is anyway, but it's like a bell sounding thing. It's like that might just kind of reverberate out. We have a sound engineer that lives next to us on one end, and luckily our other neighbor travels a lot, so we've been very blessed all of these many years. But we just don't want to, we let him drum, but we just got to stop it.
And Terry, you can take care of yourself too, and tell him that, okay, it's practice pad time. I don't want to hear anymore for now. So I think you have the right to take care of everybody else in the family as well, because it seems to me drummers do have practice pads where they're pretty quiet.
Yeah.
But maybe it's best that he's I don't know. Does he have a drum set and he's playing the Metallica and stuff, or is it
yeah? Well, he has a drum set, but he's been mostly playing on his snare practice pad. So it is.
You should be talking to some drum parents. You might not know how lucky you are.
Well,
think more on the marching part than the heavy metal rock and roll part.
That's true. I mean, we had a drum set downstairs, one in his bedroom, and we had my other son, we had a full marimba downstairs, the vibraphone upstairs. Like our whole home was, and my husband's a violinist, so my home, that's what I laugh with my mom friends. I'm like, your houses are probably very cute and pristine. Mine looks like, just a music studio, but I wouldn't have it any other way,
Wow.
but
How lucky that your whole family is immersed in music and that you're so supportive of it. Do you play anything yourself?
I don't, though my joke is that I played the accordion as a kid, and I had gotten this commercial. They needed somebody I heard about unusual instruments, and I got the gig, and I was paid $200. And so I joke with all my kids that I'm a paid musician. I'm a professional. Of course, you're like, yeah, right, Mom. But that's my household joke that I put out there. But yeah, every musician needs a fan, and so I am the fan.
No, to be surrounded by musicians you're truly very lucky. And I got to tell you, there's something so poetically delicious about your instrument being the accordion. That's just brilliant. You couldn't have made that up, Terry. No offense to all the wonderful accordion players out there who we love. And
well, that just goes to show what my age range is, because if Lawrence Welk was your parents' favorite show, then that's how all of us poor kids had to take accordion lessons. So there's my age range right there. That'll tell you.
Well, the only people I know that took accordion as a child were, I think, usually in Italian families. Was that you?
I am not Italian. No.
Oh, okay, not to make sweeping generalizations.
That's right. Well,
I have had friends who were Italian who ended up playing that as a child. But anyway.
Well, that's what's interesting. So I'm African American. So it's like, so that is so far from, what, any person would play, who's in my culture, but that's what my mom and dad wanted. And we got it. And I still have it to this day. And I busted
you were
out.
A trailblazer even back in the day. See, so you can always point to that with your kids and go like, I wasn't following the crowd. I was, I love it. I think this is great. And I think you're going to be just fine. Yeah. And I appreciate, again, your question and about your concern of wanting to help your student. But I feel like you're probably doing everything and more already. And I really do think that showing up for drum corps and the drum corps experience is a real growing up thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's great for that purpose for them. And I think that it starts now.
Yeah, Tim, I really appreciate your time and you doing this, taking time to just like anybody come ask me a question. You could have said, I'm not answering parent questions. Get out of here. Shut this down.
Well, now you notice, Terry, I said you can ask me any question. I didn't say I had to answer every question. I left myself the ability to say, I'm not going to answer that one. Because who knows what somebody would ask me. But certainly, gosh, I'm always happy to talk to parents and support them. And you're one of those great parents that make it all work. There's that core group that do all the work and make it all happen. And your band director, I'm sure, knows that how much you appreciate. He or she appreciated what you did. But anyway, good for you.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for your time and good luck in all the things you're doing. And thank you for pouring into so many people, uplifting so many students that you have. We just need more people like you out there, and helping uplifting music education, because it's tough. It's tough out there,
it absolutely is for the educators too. So I'm trying to support everybody any way I can. By the way, I don't have any idea how old you are, and I'm not going to ask you, but I am doing a series of conversations like this starting in January about loving midlife, the midlife time. And I just thought I'd point out you can find some information about that on our website. But that I've decided that starting in January, I'm going to start making sure I'm talking about things that I really want to talk about. Yeah. And I ran across this really interesting book about learning to love midlife. And it talks about this time from our 40s all the way to our 70s where we're navigating so many changes, but we don't have a lot of things in our society to sort of help us navigate.
Right.
Anyway, so there is a planned series of conversations starting in January about that I'm very excited about. And whether that's you or somebody I just thought I would mention it in case you were interested.
I will look that up on your site and spread the word. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I have our band director. Like I said, I graduated out last year. Right. But still very good friends with our band director. We're having a a baby shower for him, like, alumni and current kids together. And so all the alumni parents. So I am definitely going to, tell them about this conversation, because there's drum corps parents that are there and we're all, our hair's on fire, trying to understand what's what. So I'm going to relay this information to them and, just say what a lovely conversation that we had. And I thank you for your time. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and I will tell you, Terry, I probably should not put this idea into your head, but I talked to some booster supporters for a school in Utah who were in their late 80s, and they just kept being boosters at the school. They just never stopped. And It was so interesting that conversation is somewhere on our YouTube channel, I believe, and I could find it for you if you don't know where it is. But if you're interested, but they literally their student graduated and they just kept showing up and helping. And they've been doing it now that I guess their kids are probably.
Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway,
and I believe that.
You could go back and still, you can still go back and volunteer, even though you're a graduated parent. I'm not suggesting that. I also think there's a time for that to move on, but some people do.
Some people do, and I think it is worth. And I'm talked to my alumni group to say, even though we've moved on, our kids have graduated, but when we feel moved to give back and pour into a program that we put a lot of work into that helped shape it, it's like it's okay to go back and volunteer. And some volunteer more than others. And others, will come back for an event, a big fundraising event. And so I think it's healthy to do that. Some do it, like the ones that are in their 80s that continue on. And I think, when we had that meeting with Gold, it seemed like some of their board of directors are the same way. Their kids aged out, but they're still they
fell in love with it too, just like you fell in love with band. They fall in love with drum corps. And I guess my point is there's no age limit to being a helper in whatever capacity. Nobody's going to say, no, don't show up at the,
my God, no. Yes.
So if you're ever in the mood to do it, I encourage you to grab some of your alumni boosters and show up if you want to. But I'm sure you got plenty going on with everything in your family. But please tell your family thank you for being musicians and thank you for supporting them.
Yes, I will do that. And let me say one thing before I leave. If you ever, I don't know if that's something that you do or anyone in your circle, because I've always wanted to get a booster parents also need like a seminar or an hour's worth of encouragement, ideas, how to work together as a team. The same thing that you probably talk to sections, your section leaders to talk to their sections about being leaders. So if that's something that you do or anyone in your circle in terms of talking to boosters, how they can help support a band director correctly without smothering him or without having your parent hat on, but being professionals and supporting the students and supporting staff and band directors. If that's something that you do, like I said, or your circle, would definitely be interested, because it's helpful in the beginning of the year as a reminder of what, these parents, what the booster organization is supposed to be doing to help uplift that music program. So,
absolutely. And I will tell you that there have been some conversations about that, because I've been doing these podcasts for like 12 or 14 years now. So if you go to marchingartseducation.com, which is the parent website that everything is on, and just go to the search bar and put the word parent or parents or band parents, just search for those words. You will find some content there that is about similar to the things you're talking about. In fact, I will tell you that the second most popular podcast release of this past year was a conversation I had with a man about how to get more parents involved in your booster organization.
And
it's full of great information. And then I remember having other conversations with a band director about things that his booster organization was doing to bring new parents in, like those parents of the first year kid, right?
Yeah.
And he described, his name was Scott Rush. So if you search for Scott Rush on the website, that might pop up as well. But he talked about, like, they did this really cool, innovative thing that you guys might already do, but like they paired a freshman band parent, brand new band parent, with an experienced band parent, and they became like parent buddies for the year.
Yeah.
And they like guided them into, well, here's how you support your kid. Here's how you can be supportive as a parent and help our program. Things like that I'd never thought of when I was a band director years ago. So there is some content about that on the website that if you search around using those search words, I think you might find is very interesting.
Oh, love it. Okay, I'll look for that and then share those links to the.
Yeah, and I will tell you that some of our content is behind a firewall for our members. So I hope that doesn't become a barrier for you. And if you have talked to you, so if you want to contact me on the website or send me an email or something, if there's one that you can't get to, I'd be happy to give you access.
Got it. Well,
because we had this special call.
Because we had this special call, you and I.
That's right.
Appreciate
We've
that.
We've bonded now, Terry, over your student who's going to be the center, snare, and gold, I'm sure. So.
Well, there you go. You put it out there to the universe.
Or he's going to be on the end of the line in the Mandarins having a great, wherever he is, he's going to have a blast.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Tim, thank you so much. I know you're very busy, and I really appreciate the time you spent with me. I appreciate that.
Enjoyed the conversation. Good luck to you. And just take a lot of deep breaths, maybe some bubble baths.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Take care. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Thank you for signing.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is sponsored by FJM, Fred J. Miller Incorporated. FJM is the leader in marching arts uniform manufacturing and continues to lead the charge through groundbreaking design, superior service, and over 60 years of industry innovation. The Cesario collection of marching band uniforms is 100% machine washable, includes a limited lifetime warranty, and makes the fitting process a breeze with their Adjust-A-Cuff and Adjust-A-Hem technology. Now is the perfect time to create a new image for your program. Chat with a live FJM representative or schedule your complimentary consultation today at fjminc.com/roundtable. That's fjminc.com/roundtable. Fred J. Miller Incorporated. Family owned and operated since 1960.